had done the case study on the department, because ideally you want to capture what the other departments are doing with regards to the assistance they offer to the postgrad students. So that, remember, Prof. Berry said she needs an email from any of you who want to tag along when they go and interview the department. That still needs to happen. And up until that happens, there's a part of my presentation where I would like someone, okay, we're going to do this together though. I just copied some nice, or I think nice, starting point for us to debate this thing. And then these are just the possible books. I didn't have time to write the names of the books because remember we are dealing with case studies. Whoever has this book though, I will ask them to read some parts of the pages. Okay. Can you do this later then? Can you do the link later on? Okay, before you start. Excuse me. Today's session is going to be about analyzing the results. Okay. Just to give an intro, Prof. Berry gave an intro of what a case study is. Now I need to, and then we agreed between the two of us, there are some aspects that we need to look into. Generalizability, reliability, validity in a case study. And some of the aspects, they apply to any of the studies. For instance, even if you are doing a questionnaire, even if you are doing a focus group, you still need to have some validity. You have to assure some reliability in any study. So some of the things are applicable in any studies, but mostly they are focused on a case study because that's where we are now. Is that fine? Just to start off, okay, let me remove this thing. Get rid of this thing. I want to get rid of that thing. No. Come on, to get rid of this thing. I don't know. Okay. This will work then. That's fine. That's fine. I think then, yeah. Okay. For those who were not here, I don't know, what day was it when we did some stats? We did some analysis in terms of the stats, how to analyze categorical, quantitative. I'm going to spend just 2 slides on that part. Because during the research workshop, we had kind of different views in terms of what is quantitative, what is qualitative. Now, as far as I understand, okay, I'll get to explain that. Now, case study is a qualitative study. Now, a person who has a book in to 2011, I would ask them to read page 7 to 8. There are some key features of what makes a study qualitative as opposed to quantitative. Now, Yin is a reputable person who's leading this case. He has written, I think, 8 books just on case studies. And he is one of the most referenced, most cited people in case study methodology. Now, he defines research as an intensive scan and a review of the comparable studies, which exposes one to ways in which other scholars have designed and conducted their research. And then he continues to say, look, in as much as you need to compare other studies, you need to always understand that, one, each study is always going to answer different research questions, and it will be set in a different setting. The circumstances are different. Now, in as much as there is a way to do things, you need to understand that in your case, be it you are investigating green products, be it you are investigating mobile military warfare, right? Whatever the case may be, in your circumstance, it will then you have to adapt the design. Can someone please read page 7 and 8 of Yen? Features of a qualitative study. Hmm? At the bottom, go to the bottom, the 5 features. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Number 1, studying the meaning of people's lives and the real world. Number 2, representing the views and perspectives of people able to say everything. Number 3, covering the contextual conditions within which people live. Number 4, contributing insights into of related concepts that may to explain human social behavior and striving to use multiple sources of evidence rather than relying.
Thank you. Of the first 4, it's very hard to capture that in quantitative methods. For instance, when you look at the environmental context people live in, it's very hard to say, to analyze that in terms of numbers, because it's the way the environment is or the way they interact. And then the social behavior, it's very hard as well to quantify that. Anyhow, it's almost impossible. But so therefore people lean towards qualitative. Now the last part, it's possible to just use quantitative, but you capture more, you get more information, you draw more information if you use qualitative methods. When you are going to measure how the way, say, a characteristic, say for example age, height, whatever, that you can use quantitative. But in essence, to capture the whole picture, usually it's best to use qualitative. Now that's what Yin said. Now briefly, qualitative things or characteristics or variables are things like gender, age, language, race, continent, all those things. Now, as such, you really can't quantify race. Now, during the research workshop, one lady had a proposal, and then she said, perceptions are quantitative. Now, look, the professor and the supervisor, they agreed. They are quantitative. Now, I thought, as much as my little knowledge, perception can only be categorical. It's either you are against, you're negative, you are for. Now, what they looked at is that they are going to use a questionnaire. Now, in a questionnaire, when you use a Likert scale, you use agree, disagree, neutral, strongly disagree, and all those things. Now, they put numbers. Now, as a result, they said the numbers represent quantitative, which is true. Now, they are saying because they are using numbers, this turns into quantitative. Now, people should always understand that regardless, that's just coding. Now, after you are done with the numbers, the conclusion is going to be the perception was strongly disagree. That on its own is qualitative. Therefore, the data is qualitative. No matter how you recorded it, it doesn't matter. Now, that's how I've always understood this. The approach you're going to use, be it quali or quanti, is designed by the data you're going to collect, not by the methods. Because at the end of the day, when you conclude on race or gender, you're still going to say male or female. No matter how you coded it, it doesn't really matter. Now, quantitative things like age, height, number of siblings, that's just quantitative in nature. Therefore, how you analyze, you're going to use quantitative methods. Now, just a step further, and this is mostly important because this defines the statistics you're going to use. Qualitative data, it's either nominal or ordinal. Now, one ranks in terms of, say for example, FIFA. Number one currently Spain. Spain is the world's best currently. Now, number two, okay, stand to be corrected, is Germany. Number three, whatever, South Africa is at 75. Now, in that rank, it just means Spain is better than. It doesn't mean any other thing. It's ranked. That's it. But then there are instances where you really cannot rank. Beauty, ugly, beautiful, somewhere in between. Now, you can't say ugly is better than beautiful. You can't rank such things. Therefore, they're ordinal. Now, when you use quantitative, we know 1 is smaller than 2. Already it's ranked, but it has a meaning. The meaning is that the difference between 1 and 2 is 1 unit. The difference between 10 and 1 is 9 units. You can always know. In that case, that's interval. Now, the ratio is proportion. How twice as much. That's just the ratio. 4 is twice as much as 2. Now, that's just, it's relative to something else. That's when we use ratio. Now, the reason why I did this is because depending on the data you have, it informs the statistics you're going to use. Question? Yeah. Okay.
You're really mentioning something which is not
Okay. Please repeat.
Like, regardless of the relationship with understood what is our perception and understanding also the question. So that means, yes, it's a base. It's not a dispute.
A survey.
At the end of the day, the perception.
Okay. Currently, what model are you following? Quanti or quali? Quanti. Why quanti? Fine. Which part is quantitative in all this? Which part is addressing the numbers more than anything?
Apart from going on
Fine. So, what's your main question in all this? Why is it quanti, not quali? Which to use?
Like yeah, when we were talking about the time we talked about the
Okay.
it will become a problem because it might be right. My understanding is it might be right that now is a system perception because of what you're presenting is correct. But now to do that,
Perception. Are you going to ask directly what the person's perception is and they will give you an answer? Or you have predefined an answer? So you've predefined an answer. In terms of the scale you want them to rate, in this case, they are rating, right? They are rating a scale. Is the difference from strongly agree to neutral equal to the distance between strongly disagree to equal? Yes. Yes? So that part is quantity. But at the end of the day, the result is going to be people disagree. So, because I have always understood that's what you are measuring, perception. The end of the day, remember you have predefined the answers to a 5 Likert point. Now, at the end of the day, you're going to say calculate a mean. Mean of 2.5. Say 0, okay. 1 is what? Anything. Let's start with strongly agree or strongly disagree. 1 is strongly disagree. 2 is disagree. 3 is neutral. 4 is agree. Now, if you get an average of 2.5, what does that mean? Excuse me? It's between disagree and neutral. Therefore, what does the 2.5 mean? Is there a word for it? You are going to settle for one of them. Are you not? 2.5 has no meaning. On its own, it has no meaning. You can't say people are in between disagree and 0 and neutral. So what is that? Doesn't have a meaning. Calculating means on gender, for example, you are not supposed to. You can't calculate a mean of gender. Gender is 1, 0. 1, 2, whichever the case may be. 1 is male, 2 is female. People who are female, they'll take the 2. You cannot calculate the mean. You cannot get 1.15. You cannot get anything in between because it can only be male or female. Likewise with the Likert scale. Now, note, what you did in your case is nominal. You just ranked so that we know it's from one extreme to another extreme. But things in between, they don't exist. But now, I have always understood that regardless of what is happening in there, you are working with qualitative data. Your interpretations are going to be qualitative. It is acceptable to do means on qualitative things that have been ranked on a Likert scale. A Likert scale is just a means of just to ease the collection process and to analyze and to do the rest of those things. Look, it has been done and it's still being done. Now, the beauty with the research is that I cannot say it's wrong. I cannot say it's wrong, but you have to make your choice. Remember, you and the supervisor, there is that leeway. But for you to truly understand research, you need to know what you are really measuring. That's my take on it, though. Are you answered? Perceptions are quantitative. And that's what I heard. I was like, okay, I'll accept. And then, but one thing they mentioned is that, look, it depends on the setting as well. Remember the word capital in business management means something else to capital in accounting. It means something else to an accountant. Now, capital means different things. Likewise, attitude, as far as I was told, it has a different operational use in business management. especially marketing. So I have to accept and work with such. Where are we? Yes. Now, this is where the steps become even more complex. The first thing anyone has to start okay, you need to know if you are working with quantity and quality. Therefore, this already defines what you will use. Non-parametric is for qualitative. It just means there is no set. Okay, let me use an example from quantitative first. To analyze quantitative data, we use something called parametric statistics. Now, it just says there is a convention or there's an understanding of how things are. For instance, remember earlier on there was a guy who jumped on the balloon, on a parachute from 35 kilometers above sea level to break the speed of sound. Now, we know the speed of sound. The speed of sound is 300 meters per square, meters per second. Now, that's parametric. We know that this is like this. That's what it means. On average, the height of a human being is 1.56 meters. That's the distribution on average. That's what parametric means. There is a set convention or standard of how things are. If you throw a stone, chances are it will fall 20 meters away from where you are. If you throw a javelin, it usually doesn't exceed 100 meters. Now, things like those, that's what parametric means. Now, non-parametric means things that do not have a set standard to say. Things that don't have a distribution in statistics. We use a distribution. When a child cries, what are their decibels? Is it going to be 20, 50, whatever the case may be? I'm just making a lousy example, but there is no consensus, so to say. Are you with me? That's what non-parametric statistics are. You can still calculate mean for non-parametric statistics, and then the interpretation differs to the one when you use the parametric statistics, because that is based on some convention. The other one is not based on any convention. I hope it makes sense. A Likert scale. Usually we do non-parametric statistics because the idea is we are measuring qualitative data. Sampling. Now we are going to discuss everything that is based on a case study now, because this is where we are on the research workshops. Sampling. How much is enough? Or how many people are enough? There are different kinds of sampling methods that one can use. Now, most people, they tend to use two intuitive purposes and convenience. And still, the difference between the two people don't understand. One says, no, I used convenient sampling because I didn't have time. But the question is, does it meet the needs? Does it suit the research question? Does it meet the objective? If you are going to ask, say grade 12, they're writing one paper today, whichever paper it is. You want to find out how grade 12 students fared according to them on today's paper. And then you go and ask grade 11. Will it really answer the question? It doesn't meet the objective. Now, it shouldn't be at your convenience. It should be at the convenience of the people who will be able to answer the question, the research question. You not having time doesn't matter. You not having money doesn't matter. But still, if we are not going to arrive at the correct conclusions, the way. Anyway, purposive sampling, the idea is you will look at the units or the people who will truly measure or give you the most information. At the same time, the correct people. Question? That no, but ethical clearance, okay. It is not about who you are, it's more about what you are getting from them. If you are going to be asking people, even if you stand in the corner, if you are going to be asking people their HIV status, it's not ethically right. As far as that's how I notice how TUT policy is applied. It's not necessarily on, okay, it is on who, but most importantly on what you are asking. Standing in the, if it meets your objective, and standing in the, just on the road and you dish out your thing, it is convenient. If it answers your question, yes, it's convenient, because the people that you're asking are the correct people, then that's fine. Purposive is the other side of the coin. You want only people who will truly, you'll get the correct information, the best people, in essence. Actually, it is also one of the preferred, because you are asking the correct people, the relevant people. Now, snowball just means I ask you about your green product, and then you tell me, no, but the other person, his name is Minky, her name is Minky, actually is the one who buys green products. Then I'm referred by you, and then I go to her, and then elsewhere Minky refers me to someone else. I just wrote the friend of a friend of a friend. You get information from the first one to go to the second one to go to the third one, just like that. It's called snowball sampling. Is it good? It depends. If the people you are going to get information from are the correct in this case as well, then it meets the objective. And then the other one, which is my domain, random sampling. Now this one you need to know the population. And ideally everybody in the population should stand a chance of being selected in the sample. If you are going to measure average height of South Africans, you should know that there are so many South Africans, and each of them, of the whatever 51 million now, almost 51 million, each have to stand a chance of being in your sample. Therefore, if you are only going to look in Tswane, question is, does it truly reflect the population? If the answer is yes, no, but that will have to do some numbers. There's something called the power of a sample. Now that's what you do to get the N, the sample size. Validity. Someone please read page 79 of Yen. Can I get a different read as possible? Validity. This applies to all the research techniques, all the approaches. In any study, anyhow, you have to ensure validity, reliability. To generalize, it's up to you. If you want to, you can. Page 79, the 7-point checklist of combating the threats of validity. Numero 1. Thank you. That means, remember, in a case study, the idea is you need to spend enough time with the subject matter in the subject area to get complete information, as much information as possible. This is referring mostly to the case study. The second one, thank you. Number 3,
Respondent validation. Obtain feedback from the study to learn them, make interpretation of the results to protect the videos and views.
thank you. This mostly applies to questionnaires. There is something called some bias that we introduce in any questionnaire. Say, for example, all the questions you ask are positive. People will respond according to the way questions are phrased. Now, that is part of the respondent validity. You need to be able to not lead the respondents. Things like those. I think it's called some bias anyway. There are 3 kinds of bias in respondent validity. Thank you. The fourth one. Thank you. This is also one of the pitfalls in research. What people do now, okay, not nowadays, but there's a tendency of people never to include results that are conflicting the majority. But that's a bad thing, because you are now already eliminating the correct word in statistics is called outliers. You are eliminating things that conform, that don't conform. And therefore, your results are going to be skewed because you selected already. And ideally, we should strive to get things that contradict, if there is any. Thank you. Thank you. I'll explain more about it later on.
To use actual numbers instead of adjectives, such as when planning something is basically correct or equivalent, and that's one technological comparison. To compare explicitly the results across different settings.
Thank you. Quasi-statistics, it's a dual approach. Say, for instance, you are measuring perception. It's always advisable to have 2 scales that are complementary. For instance, if you are going to say disagree, how much is disagree? Now, you can possibly use numbers from 1 to 10. Disagree means between 0 and 20%. Therefore, we can say you are disagreeing. Between 40 and 49. Okay, I don't know what, I'll say disagree, and then 50 is neutral. Use a number thing for it to validate the other one. How rare is rare? In statistics, we have to use probability, because rare doesn't have a definition. Now, when you say rare, what do you really mean? Once in a month, once in a year? Now, that's what we mean. You have to define what rare is, once in a year, so that they complement and the person or the respondent understands. Likewise, in your interpretation. There is a guy who is doing masters. He's checking how tourists in Kruger National Park, how the tourist management system they use in Kruger National Park, if it's effective. Now, what he wanted to do was ask the employees and management. Now, the question was, will it be objective, because they will be self-evaluating themselves? Introduce another variable, the tourists themselves. Are they happy with what the current affairs is, or the status is? Now, in that case, you are balancing the two. That's where the quasi statistics comes in. You can look at the numbers of the tourists that have been to Kruger National Park per month or per day, whatever the case may be. That just complements the other one. Comparison, I don't need to explain. You know what comparison means. And then reliability. There is a certain book, one of you have it, I don't know who. Now, in case study, the authors say that in a case study approach, as long as you can ensure validity, it therefore is sufficient for you to infer reliability. Note, remember a case study is based on one setting. For instance, you are looking at TUT as a whole. Therefore, because you are looking at TUT, the results you will get, as long as they are valid, you have covered the 7 criteria of validity, you have therefore ensured the reliability. Now, the other part you need to ensure reliability is how you record the data. Human error, all those things, they also affect reliability of the results. Questions? And then they also went further to say, one of the other ways to ensure reliability is to have different approaches of collecting data. If you are interviewing, possibly add to that document analysis, possibly add that a questioning, observation, whatever the case may be, so that then you don't have one source of data. Because ideally, the 2 sources of data should arrive to the same conclusions. Therefore, we have ensured the reliability. This is a big deal in case studies. Yen, the most cited, he had 2 concepts. There is statistical generalizability based on the sample that you have. And then there is the analytical version. Now, usually because a case study doesn't really rely much on the number, because it depends on the setting or the circumstance you find yourself in. In qualitative research, the new convention or the new way of thinking is that if you are doing qualitative, you can minimum number of people, maximum is 15. You first ask 15 respondents. You get the data, you go analyze, and then you establish if there is consensus within the 15. If people's views differ, you have to go add 5 more or 10 more. You come back, now you have 25. You sit. And if people's views differ as well, you get 10 more, up until a point where now they tend to say one thing, or they tend to repeat one thing. It's called saturation. Then you stop. So therefore, it's not necessarily based on the sample size, but mostly on when you reach saturation. Are you following? Therefore, the statistical generalizability shouldn't really apply in a case study. Now, the one thing that you can use to apply is analytical version. Now, with it, you get your findings. Because you cannot say, if you have tested TUT, you cannot say people in the university or universities in general. Because your case study was on TUT, you can say TUT staff or supervisors tend to whatever. I want a silly example. Can I get a silly example? And just an example. I want to use that as findings. What can we measure on TUT? Anything. What can we measure? Performance of the student staff. How can we measure performance? in terms of pass rate or what, you have performance management things you signed, right? Excuse me? In terms of service delivery, so that will get from the performance something we people sign, fine. Now, if the conclusion in our study is that people, TUT staff don't perform, we cannot therefore say university staff do not perform. Now we can say TUT staff do not perform because of this. One, we create theory to say they are overworked. Therefore, overworked people do not perform. We create another thing. They are not, they're underpaid. Underpaid staff members do not perform. Therefore, we then stage 2 apply overworked people, overworked. We link it to non-performing, and therefore we can use that across the universities. Instead of saying, because TUT staff do not perform, therefore, but we can now take concept in this case. Underworked staff do not perform, therefore, in the universities, underworked or underpaid staff do not perform. Something like that. That is the idea with analytical. It's not based on the sample. It's rather based on the results. And then with the results, you create some theory or some hypothesis or whatever the case may be. Does it make sense? Yes. There is something called, which I haven't really understood, so I didn't want to embarrass myself. There's something called parallel forms of reliability. It's also another way of ensuring reliability. I haven't really understood the concept there. So there is such a thing. Just note it's called, there is such a thing. I'll present it next time if, yeah. One thing Prof. Berry tried to ask me to give you is some references of today's presentation. Now, I didn't have time to record the names of the books. I have papers. Papers we'll put on this wiki, and then you will have access to them. But the books, I felt I need to bring them here so that then you know there is such a thing, especially in our library. There is some resources that are available. Questions so far? Yeah. Now, this is the next part which we will practically do when the results come in from the case study. Now, there is a process called triangulation. Triangulation just means you analyze what people say in terms of their perceptions, their views, their opinion on whatever matter you're asking or whatever the research question is on. And then you analyze what they do. And then you also look at what's written about that phenomenon in the case study, in that setting. All the documents. This as well is to ensure validity. Now, in a case study, say for example it's TUT and we are looking at staff performance, it would really paint correct way. It is not truly valid if you're only going to look at one aspect, only their performance, whatever things they find. If you're only going to look at that, it's going to bias your results because you only look at one source. Now, that's also what triangulation does. Looks at all what management is saying, what the policy is saying, what people are doing on that. Now, it is a form to ensure validity. Now, one of the first steps is to look at the document. Now, which document? Anything that is on the phenomenon you're studying. Be it the circulars, memorandum, reports, whatever the case may be. Any documented report, any written document, whatever the case may be. Now, this gives you the other side of data. Remember, with document analysis, you can do a lot of things. You will get data. You will have to analyze it. There's something called content analysis. You can analyze it in different ways. That's just on documents. And then perceptions. This is the most favored in most research. People always tend to ask for perception. Now you do your Likert scale, you distribute, you interview, whatever the case may be. The idea is to generate all the data based on perception or people's views. And then where possible, it's advisable to also have a focus group from the case study. The subjects have to be from the case study. If you are looking at staff performance, you have to have a team of, I don't know, staff members. Ask them their views in a group. Find out and then get to the conclusion. We have done, we have analyzed some focus group results sometime before. So that will also complement what is documented. Ideally, that's the second source of data. The third one, observation. This is looking at what they do now. Now this is action research, because remember now, you are going to write what you see. And remember, people see different things. How you see things is based on your experience, your way of thinking, whatever the case may be. It's subjective in that case. So therefore, it's action research because it's based on the researcher. The researcher is the subject and the object at the same time. Because you only document what you see, what you feel, what you think. Are you with me? But note, you should not change or influence the outcome of what people you are observing. It's not an experiment. You're not supposed to influence. You're just supposed to observe. Don't touch is the key word. Look, but don't touch. Yes, question. Excuse me? No, you cannot, because you are the one who's recording. It's subjective. But yes, but it's based on you, not on them. Say for instance, okay, let me ask you a silly question. What is your observation on today's class? Are the people responsive? Are the people quiet? Are the people tired? What's your vision of today's people who are here on this lecture as we speak? Yeah, but what's your vision? I want your vision too. I want your vision. Thank you. What's your vision? They're tired. What's your take? What's your take? Thank you. Already we have different views. It's subjective. But the point is, you need to collect data on what you see. That, unfortunately, comes with its own forms of bias. Yeah. But the idea is, try as much as possible to document what you see. It does, and then even they compare with what's written and what's written and what they do and what you observe, what their views are. Ideally, they should lead to some convergence. Yes, question? Okay.
Somewhere
It is already action research. Yes. 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 Because you are only going to write what you saw, what you thought. Yes. Yes. The observation element is action research, because remember, action research means when the researcher is the one who writes what they see. That's what it means. They are the subject and the object in a way. But yet, remember, okay, you are the subject in the sense that the things that will come out are from you. Are you with me? Yet you are the tool in this case as well. That's truly the definition of action research. You will have to reflect possibly why did they do this. People are tired. Why? Possibly because they worked from 7 to until now. So therefore, it's possible they are tired. Your own conclusion, your observation. Any more questions? Okay. Questions? Covers my part of the day. It will be in the wiki. Validity. Okay. Can you please read the validity part? And then we'll discuss point by point. Please, page 79. Thank you. The idea with that is that it's unfair in a case study setting or scenario for you to say, these are my subjects, and then I only come once. And then I record, I do whatever I do, and then I go. It's insufficient to record repeat action. So you will not know which things are, which behavior repeats, or thing patterns you want, because it was a once-off. Therefore, it's not valid. That is called cross-section. Cross-section, what? A thing when, a thing when you just go once and that's it. Yeah, once off and that's it. In that case, for a case study, it's not valid. It makes sense. You should spend considerable time with the case study, with the subject, for you to really understand. Thank you. Second one. Thank you. Same thing as one. This is based on the subject as well of the case study. Let's say cognizance. There is cognizance. There is. I'm trying to look for the biases. When you ask positive questions, there is a name for that bias, and all these things. Now, the idea is the respondent in a case study setting will therefore be biased. Then now, you always need to, in as much as possible, have, I can't say an open mind, but a neutral way of asking the respondent, so that you're not leading them, you're not misrepresenting them. They truly tell, and the question has to be clear, so that what comes out from the respondent is the true instance of what they want to say as well. You are capturing what you want to capture. Are you with me? This is mostly big on questionnaires. Respondent validity. If you read on it, you will get a lot. Positive questions. In statistics, give you an example. What are the chances of throwing a coin and it lands on heads? Excuse me? It is 50%. Now, I can ask this question in such a way that you will not give me 50%. Yet that is what it's supposed to be. Do you agree that when you throw a coin, it's 45% you're going to get heads? What is the answer going to be? No? But what does no mean? It means they disagree to the positive statement. Is the negative true? Not. Exactly. That's the point. When you say no, it doesn't mean the opposite is true. Because now the opposite is saying 55% is heads now. Or the other one. It's not true. Are you with me? Those are things that we need to be aware of. That's okay. Yeah. The next one? Yes.
Generally, under the norm of the country, when you use questionnaire, either the respondent are giving the researcher what they think the teacher wants them, or to what is influencing them. So otherwise, there is no exact answer whether it's in
It's true, but there is always a solution. For instance, in a questionnaire, okay, we're asking. Let's use the performance, staff performance, right? First question, okay, biographic. Let's forget the biographic. First question, do you perform? Okay, that's leading. What can we say to ask if a person actually performs? That's not leading, that's not negative, that's not positive. We want them to tell us. What should the question be? An example. I want an example? Anything. It doesn't have to be right. I just want to make an example. Excuse me? What is your performance score? They are self-evaluating themselves. Yeah, but now in this case you are evaluated by the supervisor. Both of you agree. Okay. There's a common name, I forgot the name. Now, there is a way of asking one question in a similar or in the same manner. You can directly ask the same question. Number 1 and number 16 or toward the end. And then, ideally, if the answers are the same, we can safely say the person, the respondent is consistent. Therefore, that ensures the respondent validity. That's a common way of doing this. Question? It doesn't really differ. Okay. In a case study, yeah, okay.
Liability is by testing the same thing again and again to get to the same answer.
True. True. True.
Validity
It's
is pretty great. Then, if I ask you, are you male or female? And if you should answer anything than those two options, then it's not valid.
Yeah, true. You're correct. Okay. Do we have chalk? Oh, there is one thing. Okay. Can I use? I'm a darts player. Can I use an example of darts? You know darts? Okay. Um, this is usually how we explain validity, reliability. Now, there is shooter A, one of you. This is A. This is B. This is C. This is D. Now, A is reliable. He's consistent, but he's not valid because this is where the target is supposed to be. In essence, validity is accuracy. Remember, the aim of when you shoot darts, you have to beat here, and just for argument's sake, you have to hit the bull's eye. And you are here, you did not hit the bull's eye, but you are reliable. Now, C is both reliable and consistent. B is more valid than A. Okay, just saying, to get the point though. But he is not reliable. Okay, he's not reliable, but D is more valid than reliable. He's the better of B and A, but he's worse off than C. Are you with me? Now, reliability means consistency. Validity means accuracy. The idea was to shoot the bull's eye. Did you shoot it? No? Oh yes, that's validity. How consistent were your darts is reliability. That's what it. That's the difference. Consistency. It's reliable. It's not accurate. Okay, we can't measure accuracy. Now, accuracy, with this example, a person can only be male or female, nothing else, because nothing else is never accurate. You understand? Gender can only be male or female. Anything else is not accurate in any instance. Now, that's validity. That's validity. It's very hard to change. Now, excuse me. Look, they can say whatever, but even if you have to swing somewhere, even if you have to swing, something has to be, more dominant. Yeah.
Your research proposal, you have to indicate how you are going to determine
Yeah.
No, I'm not quite sure whether that is valid. Normally, depending on the instrument that you are going to use, whether it's a questionnaire or whatever, so it has to be from what you are going to use to the respondent. Then the question itself might contain something like this. So I think it's not from what you are going to get from respondent. It can be very, it can vary from whatever. But if you use something, which is applied to you can guidance from and by your proposal and then you come to your question in the statistician to the medical health because there are some couple of questions that we have asked and leading also to the population that they have the these things are intertwined. Coming to the end, I'm not quite sure how.
No, his point was okay. Okay. Yeah. True. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Before I forget, there is a paper, and I'd like to do it later on. Later on. Did you all have this paper? There is one thing that you do. Who doesn't have? Okay, yeah. I'll come to this later on. Yeah, you were saying something, and you were saying something. Yeah, that's what it's saying.
And if you have 16, and then you find that
They are not. They don't converge to the same answer. Yes.
and then you can add another 5.
You have to.
Why? Then it means that is not research. Because you know what you are.
True. True.
I mean,
True. I hear you. Continue.
you know what? I'm telling you research big time. That's not research. Because research, you know there out of those 2 chickens. But if you know that there's a mouse, and then you keep on going on and on so that animal that comes out there must be a mouse. Then you're going to get it. Why do you add? Why do you add that? Why don't you take that answer? It means you're taking it out, and then the answer. And then that's what you got to do.
Yeah, right. I'll come to you. Yes.
It slowly until it becomes a mountain. And when
and that part I can't disagree with. Yes.
Regardless, I think the precepts will really tell you this way. Yes, it might not be always setting what I'm going to test so that you don't easy when you do that thing now.
I hear you.
I'm not quite sure some studies where you are my thing if you know what is going to come out. Normally, I don't know that's the something. Something like that.
True.
And it says that. So that is to understand what is you are doing.
Okay. Let me start at the beginning. He said validity in, for example, in a questionnaire, you can only assess that at the end. It meant the only way you are going to be sure you got what you got is true is only after the event. Now the question is, how then can you ensure validity beforehand? That's the question. Anyway, you said it's very hard to determine to get to that because you're supposed to. It's supposed to go hand in hand with the two. Okay, got you. 15. Now, The issue with 15, yes, you have predetermined what the answer should be. Now the slight reason why it's acceptable is because the answer itself is not known, but the manner of getting to the answer is known. For instance, if you keep checking, the door opens, a mouse comes. You close the door, you open the door, a cat comes. And if you repeat this 15 times, and there are 15 different animals, there's no conclusion. Now you have to do this until a cat comes out 3 times, or just saying, or until the cat. Thank you. But the point is, there has to be to some conclusion. Instead of having 15 different animals, because now the conclusion is, it's unknown what's going to come out. That's the only conclusion. As opposed to opening the door 1,000 times until the cat disappears. Then you say, after 1,000 tries, a cat disappears. That's a conclusion. After seeing a dog, cat, whatever, cow, whatever, that's a conclusion. Now, please note, the actual answer is not known, but more of how to get to the answer. You should not know that a cat eventually needs to disappear. That you should not know. Otherwise, that's not research. Saturation just means a pattern has to form, and then you can only report on that pattern. That's what saturation is. That's why you keep on adding until a pattern forms. In the past, I'm a scientist. That is science. Now, Picasso and Capello, you name them. What's the guy's name? Shooting star. What's the shooting star's name? Famous shooting star? Halley's Comet. Yeah, Halley's Comet, all these guys. They wanted to measure the speed of sound. They couldn't. Up until eventually something happened. Now the laser beam came into being. Only then they can measure the speed of sound. Likewise with speed of light, all these things. Now we know now the speed of sound is 300 meters per second. That's convergence. That's what he was referring to in his answer. We're trying to copy scientists. Now in science there has to be some answer. We are all agreeing, or it has to converge to something that will all conform to, that will say this is the thing now. That's science. Now, in social science, we are looking at behavior, we are looking at perception, we are looking at things. Some things cannot be really measured. Now, we use proxies. Things like those. It's very hard to arrive at a consensus. So, it's sketchy. Any more questions? Yes. Excuse me? Yes. Yes. Or 10 more. Or 20 more. Yes. Yes. Good. You add another 10. True.
Why bother? You know, I have so many questions about it. I have so many questions. Until I'm in my job, that's the reason you are doing it. I'm not going to answer those questions. You must come up with a question. For example, one of them is, how do I know which is I read yes. That's what I read yes. I said yes. So what? There's no way that when I finished that, he didn't tell me what method to use.
When, yes.
In the research that I'm going to do.
True. Because they should not, in research, there should not be such an answer. I can say, when I did my staff performance, whatever, I used this. These are my results. Therefore, doing this will get me the correct things. That I can say. But I cannot say anyone else who wants to measure staff performance should do what I did.
Can I allow them to copy? Then copyright something.
To replicate, in research you can reference. Just put that one name, whoever you copy from, it's covered. Yes.
And then I'm doing something similar to what.
Yes.
Therefore, the method that you use will be valid to my research.
No. What's your research question? What are your circumstances? Can you get the people? Yen went to Australia. He could find natives there. But if you go to SA, will you really find natives? Are there any Khoisans in SA? They're all in Joburg. You can't replicate. I'm just saying. Yes. Circumstances, therefore you have to adapt. Then you have to say, okay, an email to everybody in SA. If you are a blood of the bloodline of the Khoisan, then you can respond. Then that's a closer, or the closest next best thing. Something like that. It's very hard to say one thing is correct. That's why I have to, in science, attitudes are qualitative. End of story. In science. But I mean the social setting. I have to adapt. They are quantitative. I have to accept. I have to help the student as such. So that's one lesson I have learned. And chances are, if, for example, gender in social setting is no longer qualitative, it's quantitative, I have to accept. That's the beauty of research. Questions? No, but the number is still the same. It has been broken, yes? Remember, you have broken the record, or you have broken the speed of sound. Remember, it's a relative now. As long as you pass the 300 meters per second, you have broken. But the speed of sound still remains there. Unless it's disproved this number now. Then we can say something else. And that's true. That's true. That's true. Questions? Questions? Yes. Oh, yes. Page 4. Page 4. There is a case study. The question is, why? And where is the question? Where is the question? Where is the question? Where is the question? Yes. 1, 2, 3. On the second paragraph. Okay, let me read the whole thing. Although common, can someone read? Can someone read? Thank you. What is the research question in this case? Why women are homeless, right? That is the question. It's true, correct. At the end of the day, we need to, that's where the validity part comes in. Will what I get, or it doesn't matter what, will it help answer this question? That's what validity means. That's only thing that validity means. Reliability means what you are getting from them. If you're asking the number of chairs they have, is what you are getting from them consistent? Doesn't really matter what. Now, in this case, the first question I had for you is, how best to capture this, to answer the question actually? How best, in essay, what is the best? Is it best to use a case study, quanti, quali, whatever? How best to answer this question? Remember, the question is why. Therefore, can it be quanti? Can it be quanti? Excuse me? Can any number give you the answer why? That's then that informs the paradigm you're going to choose. Therefore, you are looking at quali. Now, in essence, what are you going to get from there? What variables are you going to collect? What questions will you ask? All these things to answer the question why. Give me 5 possibilities. Then we can discuss the reliability and validity. Yes. The question is why. You ask them why. Then answer the question. Example? Why are you homeless? In essence, good. Yes. Why did you leave home, man? Okay. 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 Oh, wait. How different is 2 and 3? You said 2 is I was sick, I could not, and then the third one is I could not support. So the other one is sick, therefore I cannot do. The other one is just I cannot do. Okay, fine. 4, financial. I couldn't afford to pay rent. Fine. 5. Wow. It's out of free will. Yeah, of course. Yes. And by the way, instead, as long as it's a possibility, it has to be accounted for. Instead, statistically speaking, not statistically speaking, but statistics, as long as it's a possibility, it has to be accounted for. That's what that's coming now. Fine. Free will. It's out of free will. I was following my heart. Now, I want a bestseller, a question that is a synonym of one of these questions that will ensure consistency. Number 6. That's question 6 now. The same question as one of the 5, but the answer has to be the same as one of the 5, but asked possibly in yes, but it has to arrive at the same thing. Question 6 now. No, you gave me 5. You gave me. Okay, fine. Let's go to question 2. No, man, we can't because they will be different. Okay, fine. How can you, in this case, these are 5 options. You ask me one question, right? 5 alternatives. Now, question is, how can we ensure reliability and validity? How can we ensure reliability and validity?
I think in the question A, we can all similar question. He's on to
Yeah, okay, possibly. I want that question. that end of question, whatever questionnaire question. I want that question. What would it say? Remember this question said, why are you leaving home, right? That was the first question, the question was. Yeah, what would the last question be? That still asks, why did you leave home? Oh, so, do you believe you will have what? No, but if you say, do you believe you'll have a better life with the same 5 options? Yes, but then if you're only going to ask this one thing, just answer this, no, then you don't. Then that's true, you won't. If, that's what I'm thinking. If the question is still the same thing, but with the 5 answers, ideally. But by the way, is it the same? Is it the same? Can we? What is it? My English is running away. Is it the same question? When you're asking, why did you leave home? And you're asking the end version. What is, do you believe? Is it the same question? It's fine. Even if it's that one question with 5 options, is it still asking the same question? So it's not a true consistency measure. Are you with me? I'm trying to look for what would it be? Oh, if these are okay. Okay. Do you agree? Do you agree? Instead of these 5 questions or options being an option, each are 5. These are 5 questions independent. Now, the question 6 now says, do you believe you will have a better life? We'll still ask, is it similar to one of them? Yes, which one? Or should I write them so that then we can say yes or something we can say? Should I write them? Okay. Yes, continue. Wait. Okay, you are saying if this is one question with 5 options, and you ask one of the last questions you ask here, and you say, do you believe you'll have a better life with the same 5 options? Right? Or with on its own? Do you believe you have a better life with these 5 options? It's still the same question as why do you leave home? That's what you're saying. I would okay, let me, my version comes last. Yes. Okay, wait. This is option A now. I need to follow through quickly. Free will, that's following my heart. Financial, I was sick. I couldn't support. So support negative, okay? This is negative support. I could not support positive. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. And around what? Kicked out, husband. Thank you. Now, this is question A. Now, and then question B somewhere later down the thing says, do you believe, can I write SMS language? Okay, thank you. Do you believe leaving home, better life? Right? Same 5 options. 1, 2, 3, 4. These same 5 options. Will it be? That's what that's consensus. I want us to agree. What is then the solution? Good. Let's build another one. Fine. Let's say these are now independent questions. I left home because of free will. So this question doesn't apply anymore. I left home because of free will. I left home because of financial. But this is living. You cannot ask that question. You can, if you're asking, did you leave home because of free will? You are leading them. Chances are in that case, they answer all of them. So you still are where you were in the beginning. Okay, fine. Let's solve this. What made you leave home? Good. What made you leave home? Now, what are the possibilities? Husband, sick, support. Now, you will have cats, dogs, cows, whatever. Now, yes, are you happy? Now, fine. Here you will keep on it until eventually husband is like the thing. Then we now say, no, husbands, they're born, they beat. I'm more interested in, remember, okay, I'm more interested in reliability now. We haven't discussed validity now. We'll get to validity later. Reliability. This is question 1. In between there are lots of questions. In between there are lots of questions. Are you pregnant? Were you happy? Were there kids? All these things. Now, I want the one that will ensure reliability. If this is what, give me possibly 2 or whatever questions if need be. That will ensure consistency, reliability. How different is it to this one? This is what caused you, what made you do the thing. Then this one is what caused. Same as this. Okay. 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 Yes, you can. You are allowed to. What caused? Yes. Excuse me? You can, which in this case. But wait. Question. I left home. What made you leave home? My husband, support, kids. What caused you to leave home? My husband, and finance, sick, whatever. Are you happy? Are you happy? How different is what and why? What is different? Why did you leave home and what made you leave home? Same thing. Yes. I'm interested now, eh? Okay, good. Okay, fine. Just to simplify life. Give me 2 possibilities of pull and push. Just yeah, but then okay. That's a push now. That's a push. Yes. That's fine. Oh, pull is self-centered. That's what pull is. Push is not self-centered. It's some external whatever. Push. Pull is internal. Yes, pull is that's your choice. That's within. Yes. Is it possible to ask this question differently? For you to establish, remember, if you design this questioning, is it possible, truly so, that you will be able to set a question that will truly capture your internal locus and somebody else's reason or some external thing. Is it ever possible? With this why and what? Why did you leave? I would say my husband kicked me. What caused you? My husband still kicked me. Still the same thing. Now I would think these two, they will only come in your analysis, because then that's when you build the themes to say these are the things that cause people. Yeah, these are the things that cause people to internally be attracted to the homelessness or whatever. These are the external variables that cause people to be forced to be homeless. I would think this can only come in your analysis, not in the questioning. I really think it's very hard to capture that. Excuse me? That was one of the two, not both. Yeah, but at the same time, the analysis will tell us that husbands are pushed, money is pushed as well. Me, free will. My lover was there. My whatever. Things that are you now. Yeah. And then here is sick, financial, husband, whatever. Then we can analyze. There are two reasons or two dimensions of why women are. That can only come in the analysis. That's my version of this. If this is the study, I will only do this in the analysis, not in the questioning. What was the question? What? Okay. Homeless. Yes. Why women are homeless? Yes. that is the question. That is that question. Thank you. Good question. Are you happy? This is the validity part. Look, people understand one thing. We just use this as an example. Okay, it is possible to ask what cause and what. Same, it's possible. Same question. That's fine. That's consistency. Ideally, even if you say, husband, I was beaten by husband, it makes it same thing, same answer. You understand? Okay. Now, question is, how do we then ensure validity? How do we know that it is true what this lady is saying is actually the truth? Now, accuracy is as truthful as possible. Can we ensure that? Can we? For me, I would say this is the reason. This is a mean to ensure validity. Yes, we are asking them. Now let's see if they truly do not have money. Let's see if truly do they have bruises. Did they stop calling home? Do they still call husband, my husband, Hadi, my lover, the same person who was supposed to be abusive? Now this is observation. To then corroborate what they are saying. To ensure that what they are saying is truthful. I don't think there are documents hidden in any homeless person's thing, are they? Any other source of data? Is there any other source of data that can support what she says? That's why I'm suggesting observation to then look. Is it true? From your point of view, is what she's saying what she's doing? Yes. Question? Questions? Oh, do you get the idea though? Validity. It's a big deal in research. See, unfortunately, I do not have all the answers. I am as new as you are. The only thing I know is the stats. And the problem is, I know the science stats, where 1 is 1, 2 is 2. Difference between 9 and 6 is 3. That's what I know. I'm getting to the social setting. I was teaching management where I'm from. I was teaching, so I have my understanding. I do have I know some concepts. Not everything though. Stuff like the 15 things. I do not, and please understand, yes, thank you. With the 15 things, you do not necessarily have to conform. But in research, there's one fundamental thing that you always have to show or prove. One thing. Why you are doing what you are doing. Yes, in this case, homelessness, a lady spent 4 years with the subject. Where they were, looked at what they're doing, stayed with them. Now, if it's my research, the question is, why are women homeless? Only thing I can do, I'm going to go check bank records, medical aid, do they have kids, do they phone home? With all this information, I then say, okay, this person has been calling home once a week. Surely they have money to call home, and they still miss home. So somehow, some way, there should have been a reason that drove them away. Medical records, they've been admitted in hospital twice a year, or twice a week, for whatever. Now then, I deduct. It's possible that they are homeless because men are abusing them. Deduction. Because I haven't proved it. Remember? It's a conclusion on its own. That's what I would do. But now, I need to justify why I am not taking the case study approach. I don't have 4 years to spare. I love my bed. Sorry, just saying. But you can't say that in the research, right? Stuff like that. You have to justify why you are doing what you are doing. And you have to prove that it's the best measure or the best thing to capture what it's intended to capture. To answer your earlier question, how can we prove validity earlier before you even do a study? We will say, we will do this interview. We then are going to check of this thing with that consistency question. If the people are consistent, that's the reliability. Now, if people answer all the questions, therefore we'll assume things are not valid, we'll discard, something like that. And then we will measure in terms of whatever. But something to say, after the results are looked at, if there are some people who didn't tick their agenda, therefore we cannot use that result because we don't know if they are women. Stuff like that. That's to ensure validity. Something like that. That is acceptable. And then, yeah, Cronbach alpha is the big thing that everybody knows. That's it. Questions? Yes.
And the way this person was tackling the answer, even some of the questions that he didn't answer, already when they went to different states, we left it. Right. And then we'll ask, and when I answer one question, and then 5 of them will yes. And she taught me once. She said, really, if when we go to people and then we are going to interview them, and then this is the approach, then we are not getting the real answer.
True.
You understand?
True.
But to me, I think I'm knowledgeable. I could have answered myself. I wanted so that I answer everything questions about him.
Mm.
So, you're sitting.
Wait. Okay, question. You were the respondent, right?
Yes.
She was answering for you.
Someone said yes. Second,
Okay, then we understand.
like,
Okay.
to ask the question. So, I was on the phone and I took the questionnaire. And then they came up to the rest leave them. And then we went to the next one. I didn't tell you anything about knowing business. And I worked at marketing center. I know the question of interview and I know the question of discrimination. But when you're tired, you sit there on your phone. And then you think, oh, that's so and so that you can't get. And then and thirdly, personally I become very, and especially the one where the phone, sleep 5 minutes of your time, and they want to phone you. I just answer them to get the video to finish. Not to read. Then when you come to say this and then you must look at it. How very sincere. Very, very sincere. The ability of how very sincere.
Okay, yes. Can I ask a simple question? Is there anything to ensure truthfulness in any questionnaire, quiz, interview, whatever? Is there a way to ensure accuracy, validity in the true sense? Is there in research? Is there?
Information.
What I think. Right. Don't talk about the question. Try to speak. Try not to. I think they might expect so they all facing
Mitigate. You're saying?
I was just saying that in terms of normally in instruction, okay, it's 25 minutes. The concept is 7 minutes. I think in that case,
But can we 100% guarantee
No.
validity?
no, you can just understand.
I don't know the person, but personally what I would do, I would avoid having like ready-made answers. I would ask questions, let people answer me. Why do you go to work? I don't want to do them. You go to work because you want money, because you want this, because you want that. So then, there those things are. And I'm just let me get any answer. Why are you not at home? Why are you homeless? And then the person will tell me. But if I say, why are you homeless? Answer out of this fight. Kicked out this. It's obvious. You are expecting me to answer, to give you an answer that you have already
Defined, yes.
tried.
That's
And
true.
then that's what they mean.
That's true.
No, but what if the bench you can follow up using an open question to say any reason? Depending on what type of research you have to say. But if you need that, you know that at the end of the day, you are able to group those things together. That's another advantage of your research.
This is interesting for me because my research is going to be about students who are not happy. Students who are paying. Why are they paying? And it is not too much difference from why are you homeless?
True. True.
You see?
True.
And then that it's in your homework to say, how am I going to praise my person? I don't want to probe them.
Remember, research ideally is also to solve problems. Your question is going to be, why did you fail? I was hungry. I didn't learn. Can we solve all those?
But there are those that will
True.
majority of them
True.
live in yeah, they are not interested,
Yeah.
don't care yet.
Fine. Okay.
But it's not the first time that the study has been done. Other guys have done the study. So which means if you can just dig and find out what the study has done, that will be good.
Okay.
Then maybe you can get an understanding.
But it should be a revolution to the TV
If you can understand.
because the studies are made in America. And in South Africa,
I was going to do the exact.
not safe.
True. True.
Students who are attending STUC are not the same as South and Stellenbosch.
That's the issue.
They might not be, the Stellenbosch ones might not be coming. But this one might be home here. Still coming to school. They come from Umalanga, get on the buses for us.
And
But every Stellenbosch ones are driving cars to them.
do you know what I really love with all this? You are noticing that there is no one size that really fits everything in any situation. But before you go, I want to ask one question. Do any of you, up until this stage, have problems so far with anything? So far, including the workshops, how you're studying, supervisor, with your progress, with whatever. Are there any hassle?
The other time we were on software, I just said that I should be excited or
Okay.
and I proposed that the Dolphin method
That's true?
right?
Okay, yes.
I felt, I don't know how. Actually, we were two students who are pretty down and our district on. And it was very embarrassing to find that both the supervisors don't know anything. They forced us not to use Dolphin because I think that. So that's where the challenge is that, okay, which one? Is it possible that we use the case study and the Dolphin, or should we, we confuse both of them really?
Okay,
We confuse.
okay.
The thing that we told them is that this is what we're doing at the workshop. And we believe that it's going to work. And they don't know anything about it.
Yes.
I attended the workshop. In part of the workshop. That guy said one thing that I have to say. Question is, you want the research. At the end of the day, it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
If the supervisor in court says what you have, and then you have, or like say, the better thought, and you this one that I buy from someone who is not even with the children thought that I've been doing the 200 grams, and they are doing that. And then provided now, you got about to be very comfortable with the research. You know, I know that the difficult, but at the end of the day, you have any concern. You have to find a way of now. I don't know if you see, not teaching them, but making them to understand this paper, I can read.
Just a minute, then I want to wrap this up.
This is a problem when you want to test them.
Nothing? Can you please distribute the things? Anyway, okay. Before I respond to that, is there any other challenge while we are filling in this question, these things? That's cool. Does anybody else have a hassle, problem, / whatever?
I don't have a problem, I just don't know it.
Please distribute to other people. Not you, what's happening? No, the question. Yeah, I'm listening. You have a challenge. Oh, you, this one is fine. Okay. We are missing, okay. There has to be other ones. We need to, the thing that asks you about if you're going to be attending next week's workshop. Anyway, my take on this. You're asking the same question as the current president has standard 4. He's leading you. How do you then convince him that you are right? But he's your president. Marikana thing, the money thing happened. Do you know what he kept on saying? It's okay. It will be okay. Then there were problems. It's okay. This will be okay. No solution. Now, unfortunately, TUT policy, if I stand to be corrected, if you are doing M, you are not an independent researcher. If you are doing D, you are an independent researcher. Therefore, you can think. Your M, the first name that is going to be written in your dissertation is the supervisor's name first. Then your name, then the co-supervisor, then your name. Therefore, the main author is the supervisor. That's how I understand this thing. That's how it is. Therefore, yes, if you are confident about a Delphi, my dear, human nature, just convince them properly without arguing. There's always a smooth way of convincing someone you know what you are talking about. Usually, if you can demonstrate that you are in the know of what you are really talking about. In this case, Delphi method. If you can, I can promise you. Let me give you a simple example. If you can come with 3 papers that people have used the Delphi method in a similar setting, then you show them that, look, these people applied this way. They will be more willing, they will be more receptive to your request. Because as it stands, people are only going with what they are comfortable with. You can't blame them. The supervisors don't do things. Are you understanding? Yes, unfortunately, I cannot step into that territory. Student-supervisor relationship, but there's always a way to demonstrate you know. Thank you. If you have signed your thing, please note, Prof. Berry will send you an email inviting you to the wiki. I will put all these things. I have documents, papers on the things. So we'll put them on the wiki at your disposal. Please use them as you wish. Thank you. Have a good evening. We shall see you next week, right? Happy end of November somewhere. Yes. No, this workshop. Have a good day, people. Yes. Off. Where?